With 17 million followers on Facebook and his own TV channel, Zakir Naik is to many a global superstar. But he's not an actor or an athlete, he's an Islamic preacher. Naik's sermons regularly bring in thousands of adoring fans, and his YouTube videos are so popular, there are channels that even imitate his style, some friendly, some mocking. But he's also a wanted man. Indian authorities accuse Naik of spreading hate speech and inspiring terrorism. The allegations he denies, but they were enough to force him to leave his own country. Today, Naik is living in exile in Malaysia, one of the few nations that agreed to take him in. But India wants him back to face charges. They even asked Interpol to issue an international arrest warrant, but it was rejected for the third time this month. So, is Zakir Naik a radical preacher or just a man promoting his faith? Well, let's talk to Zakir Naik, who joins us from Putrajaya in Malaysia. Good to have you on the program, sir. The Indians essentially want an international arrest warrant. Interpol refused that, what they call red corner notice. Do you feel that's a victory for you?
I believe that as Allah says in the Quran, very clearly in Surah Isra chapter number 17, verse number 81, وَقُلْ جَهَلَكْ وَذَاكَ الْبَاطِلِ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. When truth is hurled against falsehood, falsehood perishes. And falsehood, it's by its nature bound to perish. So this is a victory for truth. And very well the Indian media, the Indian government, the Indian police, they know very well that I'm absolutely innocent. And they are 100% sure that I'm not involved in any act of terrorism. In fact, I'm there to speak against terrorism and to spread peace and harmony throughout the world.
Okay, and for your critics, they would say that just because this doesn't meet the international standard for an arrest, it doesn't mean that you haven't said hurtful and troubling things in the past, which we will get to in a moment. But I want to ask you a little bit about Malaysia for now. That's where you are, that's your home. Do you believe that you have the support of Prime Minister Mahathir?
I believe I have the support of all truthful people in the world. And alhamdulillah, I believe that Tun Dr. Mahathir, who's the Prime Minister of Malaysia, he's one of the few politicians who has the guts to call a spade a spade. Many of the other Muslims may be aware of the truth, but they're afraid to speak the truth. And Tun Dr. Mahathir, alhamdulillah, he has the guts to call a spade a spade. And he has unequivocally, alhamdulillah, he is completely standing up for the truth.
You said unequivocally. I'm going to hang a question mark over that now because I spoke to him this past weekend. I asked him specifically about you. Have a little listen to what he had to say.
We have a multiracial, multi-religious population in Malaysia. We don't want anybody who comes up and express extreme views about race, religion, and about other religions. So to that extent, we cannot have him. But on the other hand, it's difficult to send him anywhere else because many countries do not want to have him.
It didn't sound very enthusiastic from Mahathir, essentially suggesting that you do spread things that would cause division in Malaysian society, but nobody else wants to take you, so that's why they have to keep you. Your response to that, sir?
I would say that, for example, if a person who is for honesty, fine, those who are for corruption would not like a person who's promoting honesty. So, but natural, I would not be in favor of those people who want corruption. So, I'm a person who wants to spread peace, and I'm a person who wants to spread truth. So, those people who do not want peace and truth to prevail in the world, of course they will differ with me. Just because they differ with me, that does not mean I'm wrong.
Mahathir Mohamad is essentially saying he doesn't support you.
Malaysia is a multicultural
Certainly,
society.
he says he doesn't support you. He doesn't support you, but he has to keep you. It doesn't sound unequivocal, as you mentioned earlier.
I've spoken to him many times. When he spoke to me, he was absolutely unequivocal. And I feel he supports. But you know, sometimes when there are questions asked, so you have to choose words. That's what I believe. But I feel, I've spoken to him many times, and I feel, alhamdulillah, that he always supports the truth, mashallah.
Do you stand by everything you've ever said in the past, whether it's been in terms of videos of you on YouTube, programs on Peace TV? Do you absolutely back everything you've said in the past, or do you regret some of it or any of it?
I say that I stand by almost all the things, unless when someone points out that I've made a mistake, then, but naturally, if someone points out very clearly that I've made a mistake, then as a human being, I agree I've made a mistake. But as far as my knowledge goes, I would say almost all the things that I've said in the past, I don't regret. And almost all the things, almost all, I say that it's right. There may be a few, maybe technical, maybe I might have given some, out of the thousands of statistics I give, one or two may be having a few maybe flaws, etc. But as a whole, whatever I say. But there are many times that the contexts have changed. I've said something and a new incident takes place. So that thing, what I said at that time was applicable, may not be applicable after a few years, may not be applicable after about 10 years. So in such situation, what I said in context pertaining to that particular time, I stand by it.
Okay.
The times may change.
Okay.
The context may change.
Okay.
So depending upon the context, it may vary.
Okay, so let me then ask you about your comments regarding Osama bin Laden. I'll quote it verbatim for the sake of the audience, right? You said, if bin Laden is fighting enemies of Islam, I am for him. If he is terrorizing America, the terrorist, biggest terrorist, I am with him. Every Muslim should be a terrorist. The thing is that if he is terrorizing the terrorist, he's following Islam. Whether he is or not, I don't know, but you as Muslims know that without checking up. Laying allegations is also wrong. So is that something you now regret?
Now, this statement, first of all, point to be noted, was never shown on the Peace TV, point number one. This statement I have heard later on, I have to check whether it is doctored or not. Because it was not shown on the Peace TV. It was the talk that took place in Singapore.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube. There are many fake videos available on YouTube. Just because you pick up something on YouTube doesn't mean it's a fact.
So did you say it or did you not
say it? There are many videos on
say
YouTube which are fabricated against me. It's available. So this lecture of mine was in 1998 in Singapore during question and answer time. And I remember somebody asked me the question. Now everything verbatim, I cannot vouch it is right or wrong. But if you ask me, at that time, this was before 9/11. So before 9/11, when someone asked me the question, not about Osama bin Laden, of any Muslim whatsoever, if they ask a question, the Quran clearly states in Surah Hujurat, chapter 49, verse number 6, you first check up the information before you pass it on to the next person. Many a times after that, people have asked me, what are your comments about bin Laden? I said, I have not met him. I have not done research on him. I don't claim that he's a saint, neither do I claim he's a terrorist. If somebody has done some research, and after doing research, if he says that Osama bin Laden is a terrorist and is responsible for 9/11, he can say that. I will not stop him. But no one can force me to say something which I have not checked and verified. Okay. I am not a specialist on trying to find out who's a terrorist. So based on that, whenever this question was asked to me, that do you agree Osama bin Laden was a terrorist, I was very unequivocal. He's neither my friend, neither he's my enemy. I neither call him a saint, neither do I call him a terrorist. I have not done research on him. Just because I say I don't know, that does not mean I'm supporting him.
Okay.
So this is the media which plays around with words. I am very unequivocal. Suppose you ask me, how is this person XYZ? I said, I don't know him. Just because what the media says, if I'm going to repeat what the media says, then the whole world should call me a terrorist today. Even you should call me a terrorist, because in the Indian media, I am maligned multiple times more than Osama bin Laden. So just because the Indian media is saying I'm a terrorist, and another Muslim or another human being saying, just because the Indian media,
I don't care about the Indian media.
Certainly,
I'm trying to
Zakir to be a terrorist.
Certainly. And I think something that we can park off right now.
You don't care about Indian media?
Certainly,
No, sorry, I don't understand.
We don't care about it. We're trying to.
I don't understand. What do you mean by you don't care of Indian media?
We're trying to objectively dive straight into exactly what you said and try to understand why authorities consider you a problem. Trying to understand why you're banned in the UK, banned in Canada, and why the Indian government, not the Indian media, is asking Interpol for an arrest warrant. So from our perspective,
who told you I was banned in Canada? Do you have any document? Do you have any document that I'm banned in Canada?
Did you try to get
because you received from the newspaper?
Okay, but did you try to go to Canada?
I'm banned in Canada. Do you have any document that I'm banned in Canada?
Did you try to go to Canada but were not allowed?
See, just because a person is refused visa, that does not mean he's banned. There are many people in the world who refuse visa to USA and they refuse visa to Canada. So just because the person is refused visa, that does not mean he's banned.
Okay.
So how can you say that I'm banned in Canada?
Okay. Okay. So, fine. I'll put that to rest. You're not banned in Canada. You were just refused a visa. I want to take this to 2016. Forget 1998.
Officially, I'm only banned in one country. Officially
just India.
Officially, I was only banned in UK for 3 years.
Oh, in UK.
That's
okay.
it.
Okay. Okay.
And that 3 years has expired.
Okay. So I want to take this further to 2016. So we have this horrible attack in Bangladesh in a cafe where these terrorists inspired by Daesh go through the people in a cafe. They spare the people who can recite verses of the Quran, who can show that they are practicing Muslims or at least have some knowledge of the Quran. They hack everybody else to death. One of the attackers was sharing Facebook posts quoting you, including the old Bin Laden quote, right? When that happens, do you understand why people believe that your words could inspire others to commit nasty things in the name of Islam?
I believe not a single statement of mine ever has inspired anyone to do any act of violence. If someone misunderstands or takes something out of context, in that question and answer session in Singapore, if you hear the complete answer, I say no one can accuse anyone without proof. And that's the reason I said, neither do I support Bin Laden, neither am I against him. Anyone who's fighting against the enemy of Islam, I'm for them, and I stand by today also. Even today, anyone who's against the enemy of Islam, that is submitting the will to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm against them. That's it. In that way, I would say I have not inspired a single person. And if you read the article, first time the article that came in the Daily Star, in the Dhaka newspaper, it said that this person, whoever the terrorist was a fan of Dr. Zakir Naik. Next day, on the 4th of July, 2016, majority of the newspaper started maligning me. Few days after that, Daily Star gave a correction. We never said that Dr. Zakir Naik inspired the terrorist. They made a clarification. So why aren't you speaking in context? Why are you taking only one part of the news and deleting the others?
Well,
so are you here to trap me and to take out some things out of context?
Part of the context is to give you the opportunity to respond.
I would say that your research is not complete. If you do the complete research, the same only single newspaper reported against me. 1st July the attack took place. 3rd July 2016, the Daily Star gave an article on me. 4th of July, majority of the Indian newspaper went against me. Few days later, they gave a correction. They gave a correction that we never say that Zakir Naik inspired the terrorist. So when the newspaper is clarifying, why do you say that I inspired it?
I have not said that.
Again, one more thing.
I'm asking
one more thing.
If you believe that your words have no consequences. I'm giving you a real life example of somebody who quotes you and does something terrible afterwards, and I'm asking you, doesn't it perhaps suggest that your words have consequences?
That is false information.
Okay. Okay, we can put it aside. Let's move on then.
Secondly, if you read the charge sheet, let me complete. If you read the charge sheet, if you read the charge sheet of the Bangladesh attack, my name is not mentioned.
Right.
If I was the main inspirer in the Bangladeshi charge sheet when the person was accused of doing terrorism, my name should have been there. It's not there.
Right.
It is only there in the media.
Okay.
Again, whenever they catch any Muslim who's done a terrorist attack, many of them have my videos.
Okay, so for the sake of our audience, let me then read what the ED, which is responsible for investigating financial crimes in India, says about you. This is the charge sheet against you, right? Forget Bangladesh for a moment. It was filed under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act in Mumbai, and it says, you use funds from dubious or suspicious sources to purchase property and finance events where you make inflammatory speeches and lectures, and you have inspired and incited Muslim youths in India to commit unlawful activities and terrorist acts. His thoughts created disharmony amongst various faiths and created hatred amongst people following different faiths. I'm just going to put that down on the record. But I want to ask you about an analogy that you tend to give, and you've given more than once, in Q&As, as well as sit-down interviews. When you were asked about murtads leaving the faith of Islam, Muslims who decide to leave the faith, and when you were asked about Christians having the rights or not having the rights in countries such as Saudi Arabia to build churches, you've said, well, if you have a teacher who's teaching in a school that 2 + 2 = 5, you wouldn't want to hire that teacher. So that's why in Islam we don't allow this. You're an intelligent person. I asked you at the beginning of this if you regret some of what you've said before. That's a very lousy metaphor, isn't it? Comparing it to somebody teaching objective fact, 2 + 2 = 4. So implying that anybody who disagrees with you is not basing their views or their facts on reality because you are right and they are wrong. Isn't that the very definition of extremism?
Now you're asking me two questions together. First, you read the statement of ED. First, I'd like to tell you, 100% whatever the ED say is a big lie. It's an allegation without proof. I have not done money laundering even of a single rupee. It's a big lie and they have not got any proof out of it. That's the reason you are quoting the ED's allegation. Why don't you quote the judgment given by Justice of the Appellate Court, the Tribunal of ED, the Justice, the judge of that court, Justice Manmohan, he said that there is no evidence at all that Dr. Zakir Naik is promoting terrorism. I have seen many of his lectures. You point out only one statement he said from any of his lectures which promote terrorism, and I will attach all his properties. When the ED went to the lower court and attached my property, we filed a case in the tribunal, and Justice Manmohan Singh, his words carry 1,000 times more value than the statement made than ED.
But
So
you
the
mentioned
media
you were
picks up
not
only
mentioned.
one
Okay,
statement.
but
Why
you
don't
said you
give
were
the
not
overall
mentioned in the
view?
charge sheet in Bangladesh, so I mentioned you in the
please,
charge
please,
sheet in India.
Please let me speak.
That's what I did.
Please.
You mentioned that you were not mentioned in any charge sheet, so
after mentioning charge sheet, why aren't you also mentioning?
This is your opportunity
But why
to
didn't
respond.
you mention that? First of all, ED, let me clarify you. ED does not file charge sheet at all. You're mistaken. That's a complaint. There's a difference between charge sheet and ED and a complaint. ED cannot file charge sheet in my case according to my lawyers. What they did is a complaint.
Okay.
The media is changing the complaint into a charge sheet.
Okay.
Even after ED filed that complaint, the justice of the appellate court, he rebuked it.
Okay,
He said,
you're right,
why
it's not a
aren't
charge
you
sheet.
going after
It's a
the
complaint.
other Babas who have got 10,000 crores?
Okay.
So it's a complaint.
Okay.
It's not a charge sheet.
2 + 2
Again,
= 5.
And one more thing.
Okay.
Even that complaint was rejected. So that's the reason all this is nothing but allegation, because when the judge is overruling the complaint, why are you
Right.
quoting the complaint?
Okay.
If you are a proper journalist and have done a proper study, you should give both sides of the story.
2 + 2
Just
=
because
5.
I'm aware of the other side of the story, you cannot give the viewer one side of the story.
2 + 2
That's coming
=
to your
5.
first part. So the ED's allegation, nothing but fabrication. I have filed all my returns for the last several years till 2016. And there was never any inquiry. Now, after when they lay this allegation of terrorism on me, when they cannot prove terrorism, they go to hate speech. When they cannot prove hate speech, now they are going to terrorism. Okay. Now they are going to money laundering.
2 +
Even
2
money
=
laundering,
5.
there is no proof at all. It's all a fabrication.
Dr. Naik, 2 + 2
Sorry?
= 5.
2 + 2 doesn't equal 5. Your maths is very poor. If I'm speaking to an interviewer who says 2 + 2 = 5, then I'm wasting my time. I'm sorry. I'm being interviewed by the wrong person.
I want you to address that.
2 + 2 is not equal to 5.
When you are asked if people
Sorry.
should not be killed or should be killed for leaving Islam, you said that we would not allow somebody to teach 2 + 2 = 5. So you're suggesting that somebody can be killed for leaving
totally
Islam.
wrong. Never. You are mixing.
I've
you are
watched the
mixing my
interview.
two answers of
I've
two
watched the
different
interview.
questions.
You've said
One-
this twice. One about
Sorry?
churches. You've said this twice. Once about murtads, people leaving the faith,
100%
and
I've said that,
secondly,
but
you've
both
said
are
it
separate.
about churches in Muslim-majority countries. Again, your analogy is that this is fundamentally
Both
wrong.
are separate. Both
Therefore, we
questions
cannot
are
allow
separate.
it. Aren't you
Never have
going to
both the
get people
questions
killed
been
for
asked.
this? Aren't you going to
Both
get
the
people
question-
killed for this?
Both, you are mixing two answers of mine of two different questions.
You gave the same
and
terrible
trying to
analogy
create
both
a different
times.
answer.
So I'm asking you. Yes.
No, not at all. This question on Murtad being killed or not is a different question. Regarding non-Muslims being allowed to preach in majority Muslim country where the Islamic Sharia is followed are two different questions, are two different answers.
Okay.
You can't join both the answers and
Okay.
give you a third
Okay,
third
so you won't
interpretation.
answer it.
So
You won't
please
answer
don't merge.
Okay, you won't answer it. Okay, so
No, I'm going to answer it.
but
I'm
you
going to-
haven't.
I'm going to
You've
answer
been
each and every
filibustering for
question,
3 minutes here.
but
You
if
haven't
you're trying
answered
to
it.
miss, but first I have to clarify that both the questions are separate.
Yes.
You have merged the questions.
You've used
Never,
the same
ever have both the
analogy
questions be
for
joined
those
together.
two things that
both the
I-
questions are separate.
Okay, but I clarified these are two
Never,
very disturbing
never
things
ever
that you
use
gave
the same analogy
analogy.
at all.
Okay.
Yeah, so please ask one question at a time, you get a proper reply. If you're going to ask three questions together and
Do
then
you
wait
stand
for
by
my
the
reply,
analogy? Do you
ask
stand
one
by the
question, I'll
analogy?
reply. You
Okay.
want to take the if you want to take the interview for 20 minutes, I'm there. If you want to take the interview for 1 hour, I'm there. I'm not
Okay.
running away. But
My-
please don't merge questions and
Do
don't
you
throw red herrings.
do
One
you
question
stand by
at a
the
time, I will
analogy?
answer it.
Do you stand by the analogy of 2 + 2 = 4?
The analogy-
Therefore,
yes,
anybody
as
who
far as the
disagrees
analogy that I
religiously
gave.
is saying 2 + 2 = 5. Therefore, we cannot accept it. Please address that. I beg you.
My complete answer is when someone asks me the question that why don't in Muslim countries like Saudi Arabia, where the Sharia is followed, why aren't non-Muslims allowed to preach? So I said that if I am a principal of a school or if you are the principal of a school and when you are taking interviews to appoint a teacher of mathematics, one teacher may say 2 + 3, one will say 2 + 4, one will say 2 + 5. You will surely, because you know maths very well, you will appoint a teacher which says 2 + 4. You will not permit a teacher who says 2 + 5 to teach in your school because you know maths. Similarly, as far as deen is concerned, as far as religion is concerned, Quran is very clear-cut in Surah Al-Imran, chapter number 3, verse number 19. Inna dina inda Islam. The only religion acceptable in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Islam. So there is no two doubt about it. So in Islam is the only right religion. And Allah says in the Quran, in Surah Imran, chapter number 3, verse number 185, that if anyone desires any other religion, any other deen besides Islam, it will never be accepted.
Right.
So I said that where the Muslim Sharia is followed in the majority of Muslim country, we Muslims know our deen very well. We may not be very good in science and technology. So where it comes to science and technology, we hire doctors and scientists and get them to our country.
And
But where it
sometimes-
comes to preaching
Right.
deen, we are very, very
Right.
clear. Please let me complete.
Right.
Please let me complete.
I'm letting you complete.
If you don't have
sir.
time, stop the interview. If you have
I'm
the
letting
time,
you complete.
please give me time to complete. You can ask me.
You have
yes.
every opportunity.
Please don't interrupt me.
You've had
So-
every
so the-
opportunity.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Let the interview go for 5 hours, 10 hours, no problem. I'm here. So the thing is there, where it comes to deen, we Muslims are 100% confirmed. You may not be. You may be a Muslim, you may not be knowing your deen well. I know my deen very well. I know Quran is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Quran says clearly only religion is Islam. So if anyone comes to preach a religion which is not correct, I will not allow.
Right.
Similar to analogy, we know maths very well. When we know maths, we will not allow a teacher to teach 2 + 5. So the analogy is perfect. If you cannot understand the analogy, the problem is in your logic, not in my
Okay.
knowledge, brother.
So
is it
if
clear?
I could
Now, do you have any
certainly
question
it's
on
clear.
this answer?
Okay, certainly. If I can extend the analogy and say that Muslims should not be allowed to build masjids, mosques in Western countries because Western secular democracies don't allow Muslims who are coming to say 3 + 3 = 7 because it's different to Western secular democracies. Therefore, Muslims should not be allowed to propagate Islam or build mosques. Would you accept that?
If it is mentioned in the constitution of any democratic country that the mosque should not be allowed to be built and they don't allow, they have a right. I don't know of a single constitution anywhere in the world, any democratic country which says that mosque should not be built. So if someone says that, I will fight and see to it that the constitution doesn't prohibit any Muslim to build a mosque. And there is no religion in the world. I am a student of comparative religion. Neither in the Bible, in Christianity, neither in the Vedas, in Hinduism, no religion except Islam is unequivocally clear that Islam is the only right deen. When you read the Bible, there is no statement anywhere in the Bible which says that Christianity is the only correct religion. There is no statement in the Hindu scripture which says Hinduism is the only correct religion. I am a student of comparative religion. If suppose a country is following the Christian law and if the Bible says that no other religion is correct, they have a full right to say that Islam cannot be propagated in that country. But I don't know of any such religion. I don't know of any such constitution. You are giving a hypothetical statement that in democracy, if they say 3 plus 2 is equal to 7, in democracy, no one will say that. So what you have to realize, in democracy, you have to follow the constitution, like the Constitution of India. But when we go to the court, we say that the politicians are not following the Constitution of India.
Dr.
And
Naik,
they're breaking the Constitution and preventing the Muslim to propagate.
Okay, so Dr. Naik, listen, I'm interrupting you now because we're going to lose your satellite window, so I don't want you to fall off the air. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us and for clarifying some of this. I've enjoyed this, and I wish you all the best, sir.